Okay, so since most of the value you get from materials and goo is from bringing them home, I guess I won't bother like putting on a whole lot because that's a lot of extra weight to deal with. So let's not do that. Can I grab the quad core? Apparently not. What I want to do is under this battery. I guess the 1Ks. There we go. 1K battery should be quite a bit for this probe. I don't see why it would need more than that. It would suck if it ran out of power during re-entry, but I don't think we have to worry about this. Let's make sure we've got the KOS thing on there. Not that I think we're going to program anything, but you never know. We might decide to program some stuff. It might be a good idea to throw an extra reaction wheel on here too. Just needs a tiny one. Like that. That should be fine. Yeah, the Chicago server seems to be fine. The New York server decided to go and poop. Alright. Maybe try to land your probe in Eve's oceans to get the science from that biome out of the way. Ah! Max bang for your buck. Place the probe in polar orbit to drift over different biomes. I don't think we're going to enter orbit with this probe. We're going to go straight for a aero braking. Because I've never done that. It's probably going to end horribly. Okay. Solar panels. So, I want the retractable ones. Just like literally physically are having a hard time with like space for it. There we go. Something like that should be okay. And then parachutes. The air is so thick, we really aren't going to need much in the way of parachutes, but I'll still bring a pair of those and a pair of drogue chutes. And I'm going to pre-program them to deploy. Now, this pressure, I assume, is Kerbal pressure. So they'll still deploy quite high. Hopefully, they don't rip themselves off. But it means because of the lag, I might want to deploy them like early, because I'll have to, because there's signal delay. Actually, what I'm going to do is have all the chutes separate, so I can deploy sort of one at a time, and maybe avoid the worst disasters. There we go. So this is the thing I'm sort of looking to land, and just stick a heat shield underneath there. Suppose it could have landing gear. It's got a battery. And this has got that. Needs antennas. So it's gonna need a pretty long range dish. Other nearby planets. So presumably just stick this one on top. That's less. Yeah, I think that's our longest range dish is this one here. So we'll just stick that on top. It doesn't snap, but it should be there. So it'll only be able to communicate with Kerbal, you know, when Eve is pointing the right way, but that might mean facing away from the sun. So with that in mind, I'll go ahead and bring some extra batteries. Just make it a little bit more forgiving. Okay. Heat shield. I'm going to use the bigger one, like this. So we have batteries, solar panels, antenna, the probe core and the KOS core as well, and the heat shield. This is what's going to be crash landing into Eve. I like it. I like it. And it's got a reaction wheel on there. Eve crash probe. Hopefully that name is not, you know, telegraphing what's actually going to happen. So it's going to have a decoupler in there. And then, like, just a tiny little fuel tank. Tiny little Rockomax. And a Poodle. This should give it huge Delta V. There you go. It's got almost 2,000 Delta V just by itself here. Because it's so damn light. So putting it into space is going to be really easy. Hey! Arkesh, thank you very much for the resub. Check the center of mass. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it's going to be mostly centered. It's hard to, like, look exactly straight down and work it out. I guess I can also put a center of thrust on there and see. Well, again, it's kind of difficult. The weight might be slightly off because of the parachutes, but barely so. It's going to be fine. Anyway, another Rockomax band decoupler, and like even this might just be overkill. This and not the mainsail, just the skipper. It's only 5,200 Delta V. This will just barely get us into orbit. So we might need a wee bit more than this. Oh, also, I definitely want to have a fairing. I guess underneath this. There we are. So we'll get a couple of radial decouplers. So we don't need a whole lot more. You know what I think I'm going to do? Is use... Oh, we don't want to be in 4x symmetry. We want to be in 2x symmetry, so we can do a little bit of asparagasing. Is I just want to use these fuel tanks. Oh, that's the wrong... That's not the decoupler I want. This is. Throw some swivel engines on there. Like that. And like that. Make a new stage. No, split. Okay, there we go. So that's the outermost stage. So we can asparagus this a bit. You to there. You to there. Is that enough? We don't need tons of Delta V. We really don't, because we're going to be using aerobraking. 6K Delta V. I mean, this is enough to escape Kerbal. Yeah, this is fine. This is all we need. Pretty sure. Here's a question. Kerbal, Eve. How far out does its atmosphere extend? We'll need that when we actually try to encounter them. Atmosphere height. 90 kilometers. Okay, so it actually has a... Well, that makes sense. It has a thicker atmosphere than Kerbal just because the pressure is so high. It's 5 atmospheric pressures at its ground, which is nuts. Simply nuts. There's actually a neat graph on the wiki comparing the atmosphere of Kerbal to Eve. Okay. I think this might be all we need. I guess what I'm going to do is grab one of these antennas and stick it on this bit here. And this one will start out activated just to help with our... There we go. With our actual launch to make sure we have a nice long-range antenna. I think this will work. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a short break. I need to refill my glass, and it's been 2 hours, so I think many of us, including myself, need to pee and stretch your legs and do all that. When we come back, we're going to try launching this sucker into Eve. Oh, I have to separate out my my chutes into separate stages here. There's one drogue. That's the other drogue. And even my normal chutes, I'm going to break them into steps. That way, if I deploy the first one and it tears off, I can still set it. Because again, I'm not going to get real-time updates over everything. I think just the arrow braking is going to be pretty damn good, just from the heat shield. We're going to have to remember that delay, though. I don't know what the signal delay between Kerbal and Eve will be, but it will be pretty substantial. Like, a minute? I don't know if, yeah, I wouldn't say it on the wiki because it's the remote tech is a mod. But it's going to be pretty long. Okay, stupid pop-up. And again, we're using the Reflectron KR8. Nearby planets should have range. We should have enough power. I think we're okay. I have the KOS scripting module on here. We haven't written a script yet, but it's on there. So in case we need it, I think we're going to be okay. Atmospheric tips. What's our thrust weight is not ridiculous. Actually, it starts off a little bit high. But these things are going to pop off so quick. 17 seconds, 23 seconds later. I actually think they're going to be gone before we actually run into thrust problems. But actually, I will derate these to keep us at around 0.4 thrust to weight on their respective... I'm losing my voice. On their respective stages. That way they don't go overkill. And yeah, we won't have to worry about the aerodynamics. They're going to pop off before we get to any appreciable speed. So, we're going to save this. When we come back, we'll simulate one launch just to make sure everything looks hunky-dory and we haven't forgotten anything critical, although I think we're okay. We'll build it, and we'll go to Eve. See ya in a couple.